First of all, I want to thank both of you for your past service to our great nation and for your family's service and your continuing desire to serve our great nation. So thank you both, and thank you to the families. Senator Perdue's talked about, if you're confirmed, this is an immense challenge for you as well as for the United States with regard to what we do about Communist China, who's not only an adversary, but really our largest existential threat outside this country. Your tenure will take you past 2027 when Xi Jinping has told his military to be capable of taking Taiwan by force. This contingency becomes more real every day. In fact, just this week, the PLA conducted live fire exercises around Taiwan, simulating a blockade around that island. Both to prevent war and to win this competition with Beijing, our policy toward Communist China must be rooted in three simple things: strength, deterrence, and reciprocity. And it's that latter that I want to talk about right now, reciprocity. This is where I think you can have a huge impact as ambassador in communicating to Beijing what our desires are. I'm going to start with just some simple, really, yes or no questions. So, Senator Perdue, is it fair that American diplomats and officials face a litany of restrictions in Communist China, including the ability to travel freely, which Chinese officials don't face here? Is that fair?
Absolutely not, Senator.
Is it fair that Chinese social media apps like WeChat can operate in the U.S., but American apps like Instagram and YouTube are banned in China? Is that fair?
Absolutely not, Senator.
Is it fair that American movies must get approved by Chinese Communist Party censors to be released in China, but Chinese movies don't face that same restriction here? Is that fair?
It's not fair, and it's not reciprocal.
Is it fair that despite being the world's second largest economy, Communist China benefits from being considered a developing nation in certain international organizations?
Will you give me a little liberty here to add?
I'll let you have a little bit more on this one.
Just one sentence here.
Yeah.
It's not just its most favored nation. They really didn't qualify to be a member of that in the beginning. It's the WTO. They need to live up to the responsibilities of that. And it's the developing nation status. I mean, this is the second largest economy in the world, as you said, our #1 competitor. And no, I don't think that's fair.
Is it fair that U.S. businesses have to compete with Chinese-owned enterprises that receive massive subsidies from the Chinese government? Is that fair?
No, it's not.
Is it fair that Communist China still forces technology transfers and steals intellectual property from U.S. companies?
Of course not.
Yeah. So I could go on and on and on, and I could talk about, and you've already mentioned about how Communist China has hacked us in our telephone systems, our ports, our energy infrastructure, all these things where Communist China is taking advantage of us, and this double standard must stop. If confirmed, what will you take to ensure reciprocity with Communist China?
Senator, thank you for that. That's a very thoughtful series of questions. First of all, there are several things we need to do in this country. #1, to stand up to China, not just in reciprocity. First of all, we've got to get our financial house in order. I can talk more about that, but I'll be out of your time. The second thing is we've got to rebuild our strategic supply chains: rare earth elements, steel, shipbuilding, pharmaceuticals, chips, quantum computing. All of these we've acquiesced through this globalization in the last 2 decades to basically China and people who would do us harm. The reciprocal nature that we want with China, I think President Trump is all over that. The starting conversation with trade, there are going to be many others. The treatment of how we treat their foreign service personnel in the United States versus how they treat ours in China is a big one. We've also got to make sure that the allies understand what this is all about. It's not just about trade. It's one of the tools in the toolbox. We need partners in this bifurcation that I'm describing to the ranking member earlier. That's where I would start. As ambassador, if I'm confirmed, I will promote U.S. values, U.S. interest, and the strategy that President Trump is drawing up right now to bring our allies together to make a united front against the PRC.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Senator Perdue. And I would, again, just stress that reciprocity is going to be key to the relationship. And you mentioned earlier how China respects strength. If we don't force them to treat us the same way that they're treating our people in their country or the way they treat us on the international stage, they won't respect us because that is not strength. Strength is saying to Communist China, you will treat us the same way as we are treating you, or we're going to change the rules of the game.